Hello and welcome back to another episode of Production Arts Opportunities. In this video we'll be looking at the interrelation between departments in in-depth study. What is interrelation? Interrelation is how you work within each department, for example the lighting designer and the deputy stage manager, and how they communicate to make sure that there's a cohesive and successful production. This is really important as each department's designs need to come together to create a cohesive production that matches the director's vision, as if the costume designs are from one era and the set designs are from a different era, they will not match, making it confusing for the audience, therefore ruining the illusion of the production. It is also important for the hierarchy as each job role works with people above and the people below them on the hierarchy to create this cohesive production. Also, they have to work together to make sure they get in their jobs and specific tasks done in time for the production. Sectors. As I covered in my last video, there are 3 sectors within the production arts. These are the design, technical and admin/management. These sectors then work together to create a cohesive production that meets the director's vision. This is really important as they need to communicate to make sure that these designs match what's happening in the tech and what the designs are actually designing is realistic and can actually happen. Otherwise, the designs might not actually have the same limits as what the tech has, therefore they design something that's physically impossible. When it comes to tech, it won't be able to happen. Therefore, we'd have to fix it during tech, wasting time, which is really crucial as tech is so time pressured. Stage management comes under the admin/management sector. However, they work with both of the other sectors. They work the design sector to make sure that they're getting all their designs done before the deadlines and the designs are matching the director's vision as they communicate through the director and the designers communicate through the stage manager. It also needs to make sure that it's matching what the stage manager is seeing in rehearsals, again making sure it's matching what the director is doing during rehearsals. Stage management then also work with the tech team, as when they are in the production phase and the designers have left the process, the production team will be working only with these people to make sure that the performance is successful and the show continues to run as smoothly as possible, making sure that the show maintains the professional standard that is required. The DSM mainly works with the technical team, as they are calling the show, making sure that the LX operators, sound operators are doing the job successfully as possible, making sure that the cues are going at the correct time once the designers have left the phase, meaning that during the production phase when the designers have left, the DSM will only be working with these technical people. Now let's take a closer look at the stage management team and how it works with the lighting designer from the design sector. During the technical/dress phase of the production process, the lighting designer and the deputy stage manager work really closely together as the DSM needs to put the prompt copy together while the lighting designer is teching the show. It is really important that they are constantly communicating and working with each other throughout this, as the DSM needs to write down all the numbers of the LX cues and making sure that they're calling it at the correct moment so they can put this in their prompt copy. But it also needs to make sure that they're calling it at the right moment to match the LD's vision, but also the director's. The DSM may have to change certain cues and where things are being called, as the designer will give notes, as really important that the LD designer tells them if anything needs to change, because cues can change throughout tech, either adding them in or changing when they're called, to make sure that it's matching the LD's vision, and if they don't communicate this, then it won't get across to the SM. It is also important because the stage management team lead the dress rehearsals, and therefore, if the LD needs to retech a certain scene, it's important that they communicate this to the DSM or the SM so that they can make sure that they have time to retech that scene, meaning that it's really important that if they need to redo that scene, that they tell the DSM so they can make sure that scene is redone. If the stage management team and the lighting designers were not to communicate, then when it came to the DSM calling the show, it would mean that the cues were in the wrong place and that the cues wouldn't be numbered or would be numbered wrong. This then means that when calling the show it would completely off, having a huge impact on the overall show, as the LX cues will all be wrong and will be at the wrong time or will be having the wrong numbers. This will then make it really hard for the LX operator, as if they were calling the show, they won't know what cue they're on, meaning that they could think they're on a different cue than what they were supposed to be, as the LD has not communicated with the DSM to write these numbers into their prompt copy. Case studies. An example of a show of how the LDs and the stage managers work together is Come From Away. This is due to how many lighting cues there are in this show. The DSM really has to be communicating with the LDs to make sure that all these cues are being called at the correct time and all the cues are numbered properly in the prompt copy. Also, due to this show having loads of other cues happening at the same time as LX, including sound, follows and many others, it is even more important that these cues are being called correctly and that the numbers are even more correct, as the LD and the director need to be happy with when all these cues are being called. Also, it could get confusing with other departments if the numbers in the prompt copy are being called wrong. Another example of this is Beetlejuice on Broadway. The lighting designer must work so closely with the stage management team as the stage manager, Matt DiCarlo, has to make sure he's writing down all the cue numbers and the cues are called correctly, so that the LD, Kenneth Prosner, requires them to happen at a certain moment in time. But this is particularly important for Beetlejuice as there are so many cues and calls within one transition. And this includes all the other departments and not just the lighting department. And if the LD hadn't communicated what numbers the cues were supposed to be, then the lighting operator could get very confused about what cue they're supposed to be on, therefore making the calling and the operating aspect of the production so much harder. And if they are on the wrong cue, it can then have a huge impact on the overall production. To conclude, it's really important that all the departments within the production arts are interrelated, as they need to all work together so much to create a cohesive and smooth running production. It is particularly important in my job role as a stage manager, as you are the one liaising with the director on behalf of the production team, and therefore you're the one that's having to make sure that the communications between the director and the rest of the team is happening. Also, you have to make sure that you're getting the director's vision across to the designers and making sure that each department are working together to create that cohesive, successful production at the end of it. Thanks for watching.